I like the outdoors, and I'm the life of any party, whether it be Republican, Democrat, Independent, Socialist, anything Libertarian, I'll be there. Like I said before, you know, I had a tough time for a while. I've been in a lot of wars. They fired missiles and muskets at me, but you know, come the dawn's early light, I'm still there. But people haven't always been respectful to me. Sometimes it's been tough. There have been some people try and spit on me, trample me, burn me. Foreigners and occasionally some Americans too, but I don't let it get me down because I'm not a stay-at-home kind of flag. But everything, you see me in all sorts of different postures. When I'm like this, that means everything is okay. When I'm upside down, well, put on your Mae West and hit the deck. But when I'm like this, well, that's not my favorite position because, well, that's half-mast. I don't mean to bum you out. I didn't come here to depress you, but I gotta tell you something honestly. I haven't been getting out much lately. I guess it's not very chic to put up the flag anymore, you know. Muffin and I have a flag, but we haven't found it for very long.
Today I want to talk to you about the American flag and the Pledge of Allegiance. But first, I'm going to give you a little history. And this is stuff I only learned a year or two ago, which is kind of bad that I only learned this a year or two ago. I blame the education system for this. The Pledge of Allegiance was written back in 1892 by a gentleman named Francis Bellamy. In the original pledge, it stated, "I pledge allegiance to my flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." A great statement, a monumental statement, and the author revised it in 1923. And this revision is actually very important. He revised it to say, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands." I think that was a powerful decision. I mean, our name was a monumental image for anyone. You say the United States of America. It draws provocation in the mind of whoever's hearing you. Hell, it drives provocation in my mind. I think about the United States, a united people, a united country. And this really drives stuff home. But this wasn't the last revision. Now, Francis Bellamy wasn't there for the last one. His daughter, however, was, and she objected to this alteration massively. But in 1954, President Eisenhower pushed and encouraged Congress to make the last modification to the Pledge of Allegiance. He did this as part of the war against the communist threat, the Red Curtain. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Russia. I don't really care that much about it anymore. But he had the words "under God" added to the Pledge of Allegiance. And this is an important thing. At the time, it unified our country in a unique way. And it was innocuous. Most people just let it pass. And over time, God has found his way into more and more of our society. You see his name on our documents, on our seals. The dollar bill. Any piece of coin. Now, this seems trivial to us, and in a lot of ways it is, but in a lot of ways it isn't. Because these were the first steps in a path to where we are today. And I really think these were missteps. I think we really screwed up when we started doing this. Because we created the grounds to devalue these important symbols of our country. For example, the Pledge of Allegiance isn't said in schools anymore. There might be one or two schools or school districts out there that still say the Pledge of Allegiance, but the majority of them don't. And it's because there were individuals, and I'm not blaming these individuals. I blame Eisenhower's stupid decision and Congress actually listening to him for this, but these individuals don't worship the Christian God. God is not the name for their God. And they spoke out against it. They invoked their freedom of religion. And they said, we don't want to say under God. The response by the school districts in question, and a lot of school districts across the country, was, all right, we make it so you don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance if you have an issue with saying under God. Now, to some people, this is just okay, these people don't believe in God, so you let them. Leave them be. Some people took great offense to this. And I mean, monumental overreaction. I mean, let's burn the Confederate flag level overreaction. But they were justified in exercising their freedom of religion. It's protected in our Constitution. However, it started us on a slippery slope. First, it was, you don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance if you don't believe in the Christian God. Then it was, you choose whether or not you want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. You either stand and pay respect to the flag, or you say the Pledge of Allegiance. Then it became a moment of silence. And now it's at the point where we don't even do that anymore. And I witnessed this. This occurred while I was in school, elementary, middle school, and high school. I watched this change. And I didn't really understand the gravity of it at the time. I really didn't appreciate what was going on. But now, as I look back, I regret not being offended by what happened. Because I'm offended now. We devalued the symbol of our country. And that devaluation goes all the way back to Eisenhower and the words under God. The Pledge of Allegiance was fine with the 1923 revision. That was perfect. It stood for what our country stood for. And quite frankly, and this is my point, we need to go back to saying the Pledge of Allegiance, but not Eisenhower's version, the real Pledge of Allegiance. A Pledge of Allegiance to a country that believes in separation of church and state. The Pledge of Allegiance of a country that believes you have the right to believe in whatever God you want. That you have the right to practice whatever religion you want. You have the right to be yourself, whatever that is. We've moved very far away from that, and it's infuriating in a lot of ways. I mean, we have a presidential election with two people who are total idiots running as the mainstream candidates. And then during the Libertarian Town Hall, we had a person stand up and ask the question of Gary Johnson, the only rational person so far outside of Bernie Sanders that is running. And she asked, "Do you believe in God?" My response to this was, what the fuck? Why are you asking this question? Why is this question present? Why is this even a requirement? It actually really infuriates me. You have someone asking, do you believe in God? And I've had some time to think about it, and I realized that God has become such a part of the idea of what America is. It's no surprise other parts of the world hate us for the reasons and the way they do. I mean, we've let Christianity take over this country. And I know most of you are Christians and probably don't care, but you realize you're violating the very Constitution that protects your right to speech, that protects your right to practice Christianity. You're not supposed to be in our government. What someone believes, who they worship should not influence how you vote, because they shouldn't let what their beliefs are affect what their vote is when it comes to the good of the people. Their time in office should be 100% what is best for my constituents, what is best for the American people. God, Allah, Yahweh, whatever the hell you want to call him, or any of the Hindu gods, any of the Sikh gods, their opinions don't matter. Because they're not the ones that are actually living in this country. We are. So the real people, that's what matters. Real Americans. The people who are flesh and blood right here in front of you. And it shouldn't matter to you what someone believes. I want to see a Buddhist president. I want to see a Hindu president. I want to see a Muslim president. Because I think they'd be interesting people. Now, obviously, we don't want to put someone who's a radical, crazy person, but that's why we have the democratic process. You want someone who's sane, someone who's rational. And quite frankly, I don't see most religious people being very rational lately. I mean, hell, half of you won't vote for someone purely based on their religion. We've had presidential elections where someone was a different Christian faith than the bulk of the American population, and they weren't voted for on that principle. Wow. Wow. That's screwed up in so many levels. And the fact that a presidential candidate has to say, regardless of whether he actually believes it, yes, I am a Christian, I believe in God. Those are words I never want to hear out of a politician's mouth. Because if he's making his decisions purely based on religion, then he's the wrong type of person to be running our country. Yes, our founders were religious, but they believed in a separation of church and state. They believed it was the individual, the person, the people that made the rules that governed us. God was responsible for the moral governing. We're responsible for the legal governing, for the protection of our own people. Because no God, no matter what you believe, is going to come down here and stop someone from killing you. That's why we have a government. That's why we have law enforcement and a military force. These are the benefits of government. But the second you let religion take over government, it becomes corrupt. Those things are now protecting that religion. And mind you, we're a country built on many different cultures and religions. So no religion, Christianity or otherwise, should have power in our government. That is a blasphemy of what our country is. And I think it all started with Eisenhower and his adding under God to the simple part of our country. And it infuriates me to think about this. It infuriates me to think that that action led to the eventual null state of the Pledge of Allegiance. It infuriates me. I want to see the Pledge of Allegiance come back. I want to see American flags in classrooms and students standing up and saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, one nation. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting how to say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's how long it's been. One nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's what we are. We are one nation. We should be indivisible. But we're not. We're very divided right now, and it pains me to see our country so torn asunder. But if my words can't motivate you to really think about it and push for the real Pledge of Allegiance, the 1923 version, to be brought back into our culture, be back into our schools, maybe Robin Williams can. If you like what I had to say, please like and subscribe below. I've got more to say, and I'll be posting more in the future. But I'll let Robin have the last word. Night.
Hey, but look at it this way. Don't look at it as saluting me. Look at it as saluting yourselves. You know, hey, I'm just a flag, a symbol. You're the people. If I may say so from here, long may you wave.